We good? We're on? We're on! We're on! Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, because nobody watches the live stream, which is fun. Although I fully suspect a couple of people to, log in and watch, but yeah, I'm not waiting, though, because that seems to be fraught with angst if I'm just waiting for people to log in and then and watch the live stream, which rarely get more than 5 or 6 people logging in at any given time, but then later on YouTube gets lots of views. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that you do so well, thank you very much. Like and subscribe, right? Isn't that what everybody says? Okay, I should not be paying attention to my phone. Regardless of if it's work, this is my work right now. This is what I'm doing. Thanks for joining us in the SilviaFindings latest live stream cataloging edition. We're still working through the bales. The cataloging continues apace, as they say. My name is Mark. I'll be your SilviaFindings live stream presenter today. I don't really have much to say that I didn't say last week and that I didn't say every week. Yes, Canada Post still sucks. Things are getting, fine pretty much everywhere. I keep hearing about all of this logistics issues around the world, and boy, it's a problem. It is a problem. People are worried about, oh, will there be enough PS5s for Christmas and like that, and I'm getting one. I hope. But I hate the doom and gloom, and I don't believe that the shelves are going to be empty and all that kind of stuff. But I do know that there are issues. We had a shipment. Our factory obviously is not here. Yeah, everybody knows that. We had something shipped from the factory, and it's been waiting in Hong Kong for almost 2 weeks now. So there's really nothing DHL can do about it, because they're waiting like everybody else. I know that on their website you see the DHL plane taking off and thing, and that's great, but they only have like 9 planes or whatever it is. They don't have a whole fleet of planes. A little under half, let's call it somewhere between 45 and 50% of the world's air cargo comes not in freight planes like the DHL planes or the FedEx planes or the UPS planes, although those companies do have their own airplanes and they do use them. But most supplement that thing. I mean, they can't carry everything because they're, they don't want to have, they only have as many planes as they absolutely know that they'll fill, kind of thing. Nobody, DHL or FedEx, they're not flying empty planes across the world. They're just, they're money-making entities, and if they can't make a dollar, they're not going to do it. So that's that. So do you get the? I know that if you've ever sat on the plane and you watch them load the, not when they're throwing your luggage on the plane and they're manhandling the luggage like that, but on the other side of the plane, you've ever seen them push these big bulkhead-shaped containers that go into the plane? That's air cargo. That goes on like almost every commercial flight. So if you're flying as a tourist, chances are good that there's a lot of air cargo also in that plane. The airlines supplement their income by doing that kind of thing. So this is where we are. We have a shipment that I know there's a lot of custom people waiting for their things. Where's my stuff? And there's a couple of items that are really super popular that we've been out of. That obviously we try to keep up with the production schedule, but things like this happen where it gets, we get the production is done and everything is beautiful and they're all polished and plated and bagged up and ready to go, and then they get put in a parcel. Now our stuff is not huge, so it's not like we can fill a container with this thing. It's just, it comes in a box, like a pretty good sized box. This is all small silver stuff and chains and stuff. It doesn't take up much room. because we get shipments every other week, semi-monthly, I think is what we're calling it. So it's not every 2 weeks, but it's semi-monthly, which just is a fancy way of saying twice a month. Anyway, so these shipments come and then they get stuck and they get waiting for freight consolidation. Now with the global pandemic thing and tourism being down everywhere, there's not as many commercial flights leaving, and this is the problem. You have all of this cargo that is backing up at airports all over the world, and there just aren't enough, commercial flights for them to get on, so they end up at a thing, and it becomes, a snowball effect, a cascade effect, where the longer they wait, the more freight backs up, and the more freight backs up, the longer the wait for the freight that is backing up becomes, and it just becomes a self-fulfilling nightmare. So I don't know what's going to happen. Eventually we'll get to the front of the line, and then we'll get on the thing, and stuff will get here. But just so just so you're aware that these things do affect everybody, and I don't like the doom and gloom conspiracy theorists who are like, this is the end of humanity, because if you listen to some of those people, it's kind of like amazing. Kind of wonder what mindset gets you into that thing where you believe, like Bill Gates is inserting nanobots into the COVID vaccine so that they can control you. I don't know but whatever the craziness is, people believe it, and they really believe it. I don't even know how I got here in this conversation. I just stream of consciousness kind of thing, because that's my way. Anyway, let's get on to the bales, because I know you'd way rather watch beautiful silver items than listen to me rant about the logistics problems of freight consolidation in Hong Kong. But here we are, another day, another complaint about shipping around the world. I try not to, but yeah, sometimes it's bad. Okay, let's just move on. Do the thing. I can switch this around. There we go. Our first item is a beautiful, again, this is the bale, LJ908 with a retail price of $11.05 and a wholesale price of $6.90. And it's just so much easier turning this over and reading that off the back, because these labels are so light in the camera that I can't read them. I guess I can still read them. Anyway, this is a nice big wide bale. Oops, there you can see that. The pinch bale, there's two little pinch pins that go in there. So if it's a little tiny hole, not very close to the edge, it still works in this. Again, this kind of bale, you need to leave clearance space, right? So if your stone ends up going as high as the top of my fingernail there, then there's still room for the chain to go through the top there, kind of thing. But it's a good thick one, nice 6 millimeters or so. Lovely cross hatch. That's not cross hatch. There's a name for that. Engineering people would know that. And it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. Anyway, lovely, I don't know, pierced kind of framework, geometric shapes. Love it. Can't go wrong. Nice, good, big sized one. Our next item, like the classic scalloped bale, pinch bale, right? Pretty wide thing. That's good, 4 millimeters thick, maybe 6 millimeters thick. Will fit in there beautifully. LJ206 with a retail price of $4.65 and a wholesale price of $2.91. It's got a standard, right, triangular bale up at the top there, and that lovely scalloped cap, I guess. I don't know what you call that part of the bale. The pinch, the side, the edge, the thing. I don't know. Now this is interesting because we have two items in the same piece. Anyway, this is, I don't know what this is. Oh boy. It's just a lovely little curvy bale with a little cubic zirconia in there. Again, this is another kind of like a smaller version of that first one I showed you there with the big gap on there. Again, this pinch bale just kind of opens up. This is LJ341 with a retail price of $8.52 and a wholesale price of $5.32. It's a nice little understated, simple, but beautiful pinch bale. There's another bigger one. These ones always hang upside down. LJ626 with a retail price of $6.67 and a wholesale price of $5.01. It's a nice big wide pinch bale, right? Now, obviously, these are flared out. And I would say on this, obviously, you don't need the pegs to be quite so long, right? It's always a good idea to just measure how thick your pieces that this is going through, divide that by 2, and then cut those down to about that size. It's okay if there's a little gap between them. But, you know, nice, good, big-sized bale. Very simple, elegant, and again, this is the kind that however tall your piece is, you need to leave room, you know, for the chains or whatever to go through there. I quite love that one. Here's a cute one, nice blingy one, LJ913 with a retail price of $16.35 and a wholesale price of $10.53. And it's just a lovely kind of scalloped, loop with a little flourish, cubic zirconias in there. Nice big wide pinch bale that has a separate kind of frame thing for the chains to go through, right? Very lovely, very cute. LJ873 with a retail price of $10.40 and a wholesale price of $6.24. And yeah, this is a nice big wide one. So I guess if you have giant holes in your piece, having wide tabs here as the pinches really helps stabilize the piece, right? Or you can put this around a small donut if you have like maybe a 20 millimeter donut, or pie bead as they call them other places in the world. Right, just very simple, classic design. LJ793 with a retail price of $2.85 and a wholesale price of $1.78. And it's just a simple, V bale up at the top with a little pinch at the back and the cute little butterfly on the front. See that? Now, this one is antiqued from years of being on the display and people at shows, feeling it up and stuff. But when you get them, they'll be silver, shiny silver. So, well, I guess it doesn't really show up that much on the camera that it's really badly tarnished. Or I like to say antiqued because tarnish seems bad, but tarnish is what makes antiquing beautiful, right? Come on, all you jewelers know that. LJ641 with a retail price of $12.52 and a wholesale price of $10.28. This is a very cool kind of tube bale, right? Just kind of cut into a V like that. So, when your chains are going through that's kind of what it will look like, right? That lovely, cute little V with a loop hanging off the bottom. Very cool finding. And I can think of like about I can think of a couple of good uses for that. And I was going to say a dozen or so, but that would be too over the top. LJ788 with a retail price of $4.89 and a wholesale price of $3.26, and just very classic clamshell sort of pinch bale, right? This is a pinch bale, but a pin through the back. That goes through the back, right? So there's a hole in the back and the pin in the front, and the pin goes all the way through. Now, this is not a very tall one. You probably need, not more than 3 or 4 millimeters at the most clearance from the hole to the edge of the piece, to go in there. It is dangling from a separate V bale, so there's no problem if you stuff that with your piece. You could jam that piece right up in there. LJ707 with a retail price of $369 and a wholesale price of $247. And this is just a classic tube bale, right? It's a tube with the loop hanging upside. It hangs upside down on the display board, of course, but that's what it would look like, right? You just string your chain or whatever through that tube, and you have a little loop hanging off yourself. And I can hear it in my head right now. But Mark, I could just buy some, what is that, 8mm tube and jump ring and solder that on and make my own. Yeah, you can, but you know, for $2.47, come on, your time is worth money, friend. I totally got that from World of Warcraft, right? The little goblins. Time is money, friend. LJ 292 with a retail price of $254 and a wholesale price of $1.59. I guess it's not okay to talk about World of Warcraft these days because Blizzard is in so much trouble. Lovely tiny little scalloped pinch bale with that. There's little pins in there, sort of thing. And I know it looks like they're soldered closed, but they're not. They're open, right? You see the gap there now. Sometimes I have noticed on the ones that are closed, you know, very tightly, that when we rhodium plate because we cast them in sterling silver, of course, but then when we rhodium plate them to make them tarnish resistant and beautiful forever, sometimes the pins can get plated together, but you just need to pull them apart, and that's it. Nice tiny cute little pinch bale. Not a lot of room in that, probably 3 or 4 millimeters from the peg to the edge of from the hole into the edge of your piece. But it's great for little tiny pieces. I don't know, maybe little tiny amylites with a hole drilled near the top, or although amylites are almost always doublets or triplets, which I always prefer because the amylite itself is super fragile. But I don't know, a little shell piece, maybe a little piece of fused glass if you are careful. Whatever, you can put whatever you want in there. Once it leaves the shop, I don't care what you do with it. LJ 321 with a retail price of $9.33 and a wholesale price of $5.63. And it's just a lovely big circle of cubic zirconias. Nice big wide basket bale. Probably, I don't know, 3 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters wide. And this obviously is a pin through the back bale. You can see the hole in the back of that, and that pin, which is clearly way wider than you need it to be, but you know, the more room you have to pull that through before you cinch it closed, the better. And right. Keep asking me. One of these days I'll do a little how-to video on the best way to close those kinds of bales, because it's different from a regular pinch bale. LJ 216 with a retail price of $3.24 and a wholesale price of $2.03. This obviously has been pulled open really wide by someone who wanted to test something, probably. Regular standard V bale, triangular bale up the top, and that lovely cute little scalloped piece, very similar to this one, although it's a little bit smaller. Golly, that's so close, isn't it? I guess this one's a little more rounded. This one is a little bit bigger. Anyway, cute little scallop. So lots of options for scalloped, tiny scalloped head pins. This one has been put through and bent up, but LJ 259 with a retail price of $1.42 and a wholesale price of $1.17. And it says a loop at the top with that cute little flower design. And again, this one is pretty. Right, pretty badly tarnished. But there's a hole out the back, And I like when there's this nice wide indentation. Sometimes you see that with round pieces, but I guess they continued the same design on the front, on the back. But there's a nice shallow piece there, which is a good place to tuck the end of that wire in after you snip it off and tuck the end down, cinch the end down. Quite versatile and definitely useful. Here's LJ 687 with a retail price of $6.03 and a wholesale price of $4.03. So this lovely shape, kind of like a angel's wing, maybe something, right? That's the bail. Again, probably only enough room in there for 2.5 to 3 millimeter wide chain or a clasp. And there's just a lovely standard tab style pinch bail or pin through the back bail. There isn't really a, although I guess, you know, in the jewelry industry, people make up names for whatever they want, and then they say, oh yeah, that's a blah 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 bail. And they just make it up as they go. My favorite is stones. People call stone names different colloquial names. Like there's this one brown stone that I swear it looks like a brown cow, you know, with the spots and everything, and they call it mookite. And I always thought it was funny because, you know, cows go moo. Mookite. At first I thought, when I saw it on a receipt, because we were getting a shipment of stones from India, I thought it was a joke, you know, like mookite. Oh yeah, haha, brown stone. But it's actually the name of the stone. But it's MOU, I think. Anyway, lovely little star bail, right, with a loop and another big loop, right, with the pin through the back bail. That's a, boy, pretty small one, so it's going to be for a pretty small piece, maybe some shell. Oh, that'd be awesome, right? Shell, well, you can get a hole pretty close to the edge of the shell if you're drilling it carefully. Definitely. LJ 949 with a retail price of $8.74 and a wholesale price of $5.47. That's a nice big bold bail, right? Nice big wide piece, and that's pretty wide. That you could probably fit something 5 or 6 millimeters through that, right? And I love how there's like almost like a pin between the two edges of the bail that hold the pinch bail part on. Gives you quite a bit more movement. It's a little more dangly, I guess. A little more. Anyway, just standard kind of curved chevron shape of the pinch bail. The cute little pinch bails in the middle. Here's one that's a little more, let's call it contemporary, right? Is that what it's called when it's just like a square? LJ 342 with a retail price of $8.97 and a wholesale price of $5.72. And here we have this contemporary profile. It's just a rectangle pinch bail. Again, it's got that wide pinches, the wide holes. So if you have a pretty good sized hole in your piece and the little pinch bails make things move too much, this is an awesome option for that. Very cool, very contemporary. I'm just gonna keep using it every time I see this, you know, kind of very simple, sparse. Or I can, what other names? I have to think of something incredibly pretentious. So like, it's a post-industrial. It's a post-industrial look. There you go. You know, writing the descriptions for the products is one of the most fun jobs that I get to do here at SilviaFindings. LJ 831 with a retail price of $1.85 and a wholesale price of $1.11. This is just a standard. This is closed, right? Soldered bail. So this is the kind of thing that you would, you know, if you're making your own pendants and you have a jump ring, you put the jump ring through there first and then solder the opening of the jump ring to the pendant so that hangs on there. I have made these you know, just from scrap metal, or not scrap metal, but pieces of metal. You just cut a big diamond shape thing, then fold it over a dowel or something. But this is beautiful, nice, pretty thick, nice rounded edges, right? So definitely worth the $1.11. It would take you, you know, a good 20 minutes to cut a piece out of, even if you did it just with scissors, you know, or shears, you know, instead of sawing it. You still got to file the edges. You still got to, you know, polish them. I think it's just way more worth it to buy one. Trust me, I was a jewelry fabricator for a long time. I was almost 30 years. It's actually more than that. It sounds so long when I say it out loud. LJ 785 with a retail price of $468 and a wholesale price of $293. And here's a lovely 3 scallops pinch bail, right? You can see those lovely. See, now this is the size pins that personally I think work best. They're not super long. They don't have to be. Again, the physics of how these things work is not rocket science, right? The edge of the stone hits the inside edge of the, let me see if I can get that right, the inside edge of that, and the corner where the pin meets the piece of the metal is where all of the stress happens. So as long as this is pinch closed and these two pieces are right up against the metal, it doesn't matter how big of a gap there is between the pins, because the length of the pin isn't adding more security, right? Because as soon as this starts to pull down, if it does, it's going to start to twist, and it just can't, it can't pull out. So, you know, unless somebody is physically grabbing the pinch bail and trying to pull it off, whoops, I'm getting a little too animated here, trying to actually physically pull it off your piece, it's not like those two pins can separate from each other, because all of the stress is bending them down inside the hole, and the ends of the pins are going to hit the inside of the hole and hold it in place, right? So, I mean, I understand it doesn't seem like it should be much, but when you think about most stone setting, right, there's like a little tiny micro piece, like not even 1/4 of a millimeter of a prong that's coming up over the edge of the crown on the stone. And yeah, it's holding 4 sides, but it's just a little tiny piece of metal that's holding a, you know, a priceless diamond in there. People don't worry about that, but for some reason, people don't accept the obvious structural integrity of these pinch bails. Not complaining, you know, it's just a thing. They have a lot more strength than people want to give them credit for. Here's a couple of different, these are cup and peg bales. LJ 834 with a retail price of $364 and a wholesale price of $228. This is just a very simple, small loop. You can't see because it's kind of tied in there, but there's just a little loop with a bar with a couple of little loops, and then that peg, cup and peg that you dangle you know, a pearl, a half-drilled pearl or a stone with a little bit of a hole in it. Again, for these kind of cup and peg settings, I always recommend a good 2-part epoxy adhesive. If you do any epoxy resin casting, you know, like you make your own little cabochons, or you fill those, I think, which we, you know what, I should pull one out, because we have a lot on the website that people are making, that commemoration jewelry, breast milk jewelry, you know, that kind of stuff, where I guess people send some breast milk to a company, and then they dehydrate it and mix it up with this epoxy resin, and then cast it into little cabochons and make jewelry with it. Kind of gross, but okay, whatever works, right? Or, you know, I've seen people do the same thing with cremation ashes. You know, the hair of your dog, if you had to have her or him retired. Retired to the farm where they can run around free, right? Isn't that the anyway? What was my point? Oh yeah, that 2-part epoxy resin that you can use for that casting actually works really good as an adhesive. You know, it's not as good as the adhesive epoxies that are made specifically for that, but in a pinch, if you have that other stuff, it actually does work. I've tried it out. LJ 731 with a retail price of $1.33 and a wholesale price of $1.05. And this is again just another simple round cap, probably a 5mm cap or so, with a little pin in there, a little loop to glue that onto. Here's a little bit more sparse version of this. Right, cute little scallop cap, and that's a probably tiny little cap, probably 3mm wide or so. A little 4mm wide loop with a peg on there. LJ 720 with a retail price of 59 cents and a wholesale price of 47 cents. And one more cup and peg. Actually, not one more. We have one more after this. LJ 840 with a retail price of $1.72 and a wholesale price of $1.14. Lovely, cute little pierced flower cap on the top there. Right, a nice big, no, it's not that big, 4mm size loop or so, and the peg that you would glue onto. This is the last finding I'm going to show you today, and I always try to say something cool for the end. And as we're doing pinch bales, or those cup and peg bales, I thought I would save one for last. Here's a cute little dolphin, fish, whatever. Dolphins aren't fish. LJ 725 with a retail price of $9.93 and wholesale price of $7.94. It's got that giant peg that it's a little bent up because it's been sitting in the displays for years and people bend them all up. But I like that flower cup, right? Because when you glue the thing, obviously you would cut this down to, you know, whatever size you need that to be, and, you know, bend that straight. But I just like the way that it looks on the back of a pearl or a stone or something. It just, I don't know, it's kind of nice. And the other cool thing about this is that flower is probably about 7 or 8mm wide, but you could definitely go as low as probably 6 or 7mm up to as high as 10mm. So it's a pretty good range of size stones that you can use on this thing. Anyway, I just love this cute little, let's call it a porpoise. It's not really well, maybe it is a dolphin, right? What's the one that has a bulging head? I never know. I want to say that I guess I didn't watch enough Animal Planet as a kid, but I kind of did. Not as a kid, because there was no Animal Planet when I was a kid. Anyway, neither here nor there. So that's it. That's the last little pinch bale that we're doing today. Whoops. Apologies for that. Thanks for what I guess Darcy Martin is the only person who logged in for this. Oh, there was another Indian dealer, I think, but we get those every week. I feel like right. I think I just heard that India is the single biggest market for Facebook. Like there are more Facebook users in India than anywhere else in the world. So I don't know why I'm shocked that every time we do a live stream that at least one Indian dealer logs on and says hi or whatever. So hi, Indian dealer, and hi, Darcy Martin, and I guess we're that's it. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week, 10:30 Pacific, and extrapolate it out to wherever you are, or after the fact on YouTube, or I don't know where else this gets posted, but definitely it goes on YouTube. Kaida Adele Dragomir Dragon. Dragomir Dragon. Kaida Adele Dragomir Dragon. Okay, which one of those is your birth name? I'm guessing Dragomir. Nice to see you. I'm sorry that you came in at the end, but we're done. I'm just trying to sign off, but I've always used such a bad job of it, and I tend to ramble. Yes, I believe that's your name. It's an awesome name. I love it. The more names, the better. Could probably add a couple on to the breaker of chains. Everyone calls me Dragon. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dragon. It was nice to see you here for the last few minutes of this live stream. And but we can catch you next week. I guess we do this every week, Wednesday morning, Again, I said from 10:30 Pacific to extrapolate it out to wherever you are, or after the fact on YouTube that you do so well. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and keep those creative juices flowing. Just keep working, just keep making stuff. I will see you next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Finished. This is the button.